This is Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to the Voice for Fitness Professionals podcast, where I share programming, marketing, and promotion strategies that are easy, enjoyable, even fun, so you can create a business and a life you love. And I'm so excited about this episode, this topic, and my guest, who's feeling like a friend. He and his wife both are people I adore as well as admire. Colin Milner is here. He is CEO of the International Council on Active Aging and founder of the active aging industry in North America. Milner is also a leading authority on the health and well-being of the older adult and has been recognized by the World Economic Forum as one of the most innovative and influential minds in the world on aging-related topics. An award-winning writer, Milner has authored more than 300 articles. He's been published in such journals as Global Policy and the 2016 Annual Review of Gerontology and Geriatrics. He also contributed a chapter to the World Economic Forum book, Global Population Aging, Peril or Promise. Milner's speeches have stimulated thousands of business and government leaders, industry professionals, and older adults worldwide. In Canada, he hosts the age-friendly BC Community video series released by the British Columbia Ministry of Health. Whether Fortune 500 companies or governmental organizations, Milner's efforts have inspired a broad spectrum of groups to seek his counsel, including, among these, the World Economic Forum's Global Agenda Council on Aging, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, U.S. Administration on Aging, National Institute on Aging, the White House Conferences on Aging, and just to let you know, listeners, I filtered that list way down. There are numerous more, but I wanted to give you some idea of the impact our guest today has. Colin, thanks so much for taking time out to be here.
It's my pleasure, Deborah, and I'm looking forward to it. And, probably the most important thing for your listeners is I also started at $4 an hour as a fitness instructor, back then called a weight training instructor, and lived and breathed, the club industry for 10 years. So I'm excited to be kind of back at my roots and able to share some of those experiences with your listeners.
Well, and not only have you done so much for the world in aging, but you are a mind reader, because that was my first question. What were you doing before International Council on Active Aging? So we'll scratch that one off the list. But I think to inspire listeners, so relevant. What was the trigger for you? The thing that said, I'm jumping both feet in, somebody's got to do it. I see this thing and it has to be me. What was that moment?
It's interesting because, my fitness career started, when I was training to be a professional soccer player. And I got as far as the ranks of the semi-pro. And as I mentioned, and then I ran clubs for about 10 years. And after that, I opened up my first business, which was a fitness association for Canada. And, back then we were doing some editorial on the older population, and it was really interesting to me. And it perked my curiosity. And, my grandmother, who's now 106, has always been an inspiration. But it wasn't until, I moved into the realm of working with Kaiser Fitness Equipment and being responsible for their sales and marketing that I started to work with groups that were doing a lot of research on exercise and aging. And really the thing that clicked me over was just seeing how you could take someone who was living a challenged life and completely change that by helping them to become healthier, fitter, stronger. It was just not only inspirational, but highly educational to me personally. And it was at that moment that I decided, we need to do something about that. So we launched the Kaiser Institute in Aging. Long story short, in the midst of all of that, I got recruited to be the president of Idea Health and Fitness Association. And I went there with the intention of opening up something that was going to focus on the older population. But, after 10 months, that was obvious that wasn't going to happen and nobody else was doing it. So I decided I was losing enough money in the stock market. If I was going to lose more money, I might as well invest in myself. And if it didn't work out, at least I would feel good about losing the money. So I did. And 18 years later, here we are, 10,000 organizations that belong to us in 47 countries, actually. And, life is moving forward as the world begins to move into a decade or two that is focused highly on the older population.
Very exciting. Okay, so from the beginning to now, how has your work changed? How has it evolved?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, when we first started, a lot of the information that was coming out around aging was all negative. It was about, that you're going to become frail, that, you're a burden to society, that, you're going to bankrupt Medicare and Medicaid and, everything like that. So our goal was to change the way the conversation was happening around aging and thus helping to also change the way we age. And that was really the starting point. Today, if we move forward, I think that we have helped to shift that conversation, especially within the segments that we are in, where I'll give you an example, in the senior living communities that many of our members are from. Back then, they would run me out of the community for talking about fitness because they would say it would kill their residents. And I would always say, well, not doing anything would kill them quicker. Not being flip, but factual. Now, they are inviting fitness manufacturers and professionals and the world of health and wellness into the communities. And it's night and day. Many of these communities are building fitness centers that are equivalent to, any other fitness center out there. Some are still very small. It's like hospitality, where you've got your Motel 6 all the way up to the Ritz. But, that whole conversation has really now changed, where we're looking at how do we help the older population embrace their potential instead of prepare for the rocking chair.
Love that. And for listeners who've been queued up to all the recent podcasts, we've been talking recently with Lisa Dougherty of MedFit Network, Kevin Steele with PT on the Net about specialty courses and baby boomers and the silent generation and demand, and with an expert on osteoarthritis. So many of you are already tuning in because this is such a hot topic. Older adults have been a big focus, and so fitting that we have you here. What, Colin, of all people, you've talked to people all over the world. If you had a magic globe to look into, the crystal ball, what do you see that you expect to change or decline or grow in the future that would be of interest to the ears of our listeners?
Everything.
Oh, okay.
And I say that in all reality because society has really done a poor job of preparing for an older or the population to age well. So literally almost every sector, there are opportunities within it. Within the fitness sector, part of the challenge has been, changing our language and our imagery, and in some cases, our programming and facilities to really truly meet the diverse needs of the population. Yes, we have older people working out in the clubs. Fantastic. We could have many more simply by making some adjustments to the way we go about things. Speaking less about fitness, more about function. The definition of healthy aging changed about 2 years ago when the World Health Organization came out with a new report talking about, it's now less about the management or the absence of disease, and now more about the maintenance and improvement of function. Now, with that said, the industry, when I speak with a lot of people, they still use terminology like special populations and that the older adult will help us fill the downtime. The reality is that the older population will work out when they want. Not just simply in your downtime. So, you limit your potential with the way you view aging. So the first thing that you need to shift to embrace all of this is your own thinking.
I love that. Yeah. And I would echo that rings true when we lump the over 50 market into one spot. So I think you hit on it. This is such a diverse market. Even within, older adults, we have so many ability levels that, we can look at them, very, very differently. We're not talking necessarily gentle yoga and chair yoga. Some of these are still very much athletes, literally. So what do you see? I mean, that's definitely grown as well. So potentially when you started, and I'm guessing, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I would guess that it looked a whole lot more like the already active stayed active and the inactive kind of stayed inactive. But now we're seeing people start in their 70s and 80s.
Oh, very much so. Matter of fact, when I first started, I can only remember one. Harry was the guy's name, older person in our club. Everybody else was young. That is not so anymore. And it is not so when you go to the fitness trade shows either. It used to be that all the people were energetic young people and they were ready to change the world, and we're still ready to change the world. We just happen to be energetic older people now. I'm 58. I started in this industry when I was 21. So, now the exciting part is that I think we are moving into a time where the sophistication of what we offer is also about to ramp up. As you said, it's a diverse market. No two people age the exact same way. A matter of fact, we all have such diverse circumstances that the need for personalization, not just personal training, but personalization and personalized solutions is, to me, top of the heap. And the question becomes how do you deliver those? Do you start using things like, genetic testing? Do you start using things like wearables and monitoring? And do you start to, coordinating your efforts with things like wearable tattoos, wearable shirts, all of these different elements that shows you patterns and that you can monitor whether people are hydrated, dehydrated, what their oxygen levels are. Are there any patterns that are changing that you need to take into consideration so that you can modify to keep them healthy so that they actually don't need to go see the doctor. And that has a long-term effect on the healthcare industry because you minimize the unneeded visits to the doctor, and the doctor now can actually spend time with patients instead of trying to cram so many people through. So I think we are at a time where it's very exciting. You bring in things like wearables, artificial intelligence, And now you really get personalized solutions for individuals that they haven't had before. And it's way beyond just having someone being a personal trainer. Now, the question becomes is what's the skills that I need, or who do I need to work with to bring all of that to life?
What's the answer to that?
Well, number one is you need to understand the tools that you are using. You may also need, from a genetic standpoint, you may also need to work with professionals who are delivering those kinds of services. You will not always be the go-to person. You will potentially require a greater team, as you should anyway, but a greater team that can look at things like epigenetics, that they can look at, how, someone's genes will dictate what kind of food they eat, how someone's genes may dictate what kind of exercises they'll respond to best. As an example, we have right now that they can tell you. I was just speaking with, someone who is in this area, and they were saying that, I can tell you today that your genes, that you have a hamstring that is more likely to tear than not. And because of that, if you're an athlete, what kind of workout you should be doing to make it stronger than maybe you would. And when you're rehabbing it, how to actually do it differently than you should. Those kinds of things, what kind of exercise will you respond better to? And what kind of nutrition will you respond better to? Now, all of a sudden, you have a highly customized and personalized solution. And it's not going to be all about you. You'll have to tie in with professionals who understand that. But now you become an indispensable part of someone's life because you are making a significant impact. To me, one of the biggest challenges and one of the reasons why people come and go is, progress, lack of results. And,
right.
Here you are able to track the results moment by moment, track people's health moment by moment, and work with the individuals that can actually give the recommendations that will enhance the results that people will get.
Well, I love that. Okay, so now I'm super excited about the upcoming International Council on Active Aging Conference. So are these some of the things we're going to see in breakouts and sessions and or in the expo?
These are some of the things that you will see in all of the above.
Awesome.
We have the former Surgeon General, Dr. Richard Carmona, who will be talking about the genetic part of things. We have, Ken Smith from Stanford, who will be talking about wearables, actually wearables 3.0, because we are now at a different stage. The first set of wearables was the simple pedometer. And now wearables 2.0 was what we're using right now, tracking, whether it is your app or whether it's your iPhone or what have you. It's all about tracking. Wearables 3.0 actually looks at what's happening inside of your body so that you can actually make changes there and not just track food activity. You can go much deeper now.
Wow, that's pretty exciting. Okay, and let's bring up the date. So we should mention the date and the location of this year's International Council on Active Aging.
Yes, it's a beautiful location in Long Beach, California, right across from the beach for those that like that, which includes me, by the way.
And me too.
It is the 18th of October to the 20th, and the pre-conference day is on the 17th.
Super exciting. And you've always got some great things on pre-conference day. Talk a little bit about what's happening that day.
Well, we have Dr. Deborah Rose, who is coming in, who's looking at, fall strategies, practical approaches to, programming for fall prevention or fall reduction. I shouldn't say prevention. We really can't prevent something, or at least in a court of law that challenge you on that. So really the proper term is fall reduction. Her pre-conference is all sold out, which is exciting. We also have a absolutely fantastic pre-conference around nutrition, where we have some brilliant people coming in from all across the U.S. As far as presenters go to present in that. And what we're looking at in that is topics that will range from, the basics A to Z, nutrition and physical activity, to, protein and healthy aging, challenging current recommendations, what that might look like, why. Then we'll also be looking at identifying nutritional risks and tools and strategies and interventions that you can use to actually work with and around those. And also looking at a major issue for a lot of people, especially older people, and that is malnutrition. Matter of fact, if you think of malnutrition, what's the first thing that comes to your mind, Deborah?
Wasting away and frailty.
Exactly. That was my first thought as well. But malnutrition is everything otherwise than good nutrition. So obesity, all of those things are actually part of malnutrition. So we will be focusing on that topic as well.
Fabulous. Great content. Okay. So I will, if you're listening and you happen to be walking, jogging, lifting, taking a break, otherwise, maybe commuting, I've got you covered. All this will be in the notes. But Colin, you have something else happening, like almost right. And I'm not sure quite thinking about it, how you're doing all of this, but Active Aging Week also has become quite the phenomenon. So talk a little bit about that and how listeners, even if they're just hearing about it for the first time, could still pull something together and get involved and or use it for marketing and growing their community.
Well, Active Aging Week is probably one of the most rewarding things that we do each and every year. We've been doing it since 2003. We guesstimate that there's roughly about 750,000 individuals that participate in it. Over 3,000 plus locations around the country. Actually, it's in 4 different countries right now. The US, Canada, Australia, the UK. Oh, and a 5th one this year, India. And it is a time when people come together to celebrate the achievements and the potential of an older person. And these organizations put on everything from health fairs to walks to runs to you name it, bike rides to, going to the zoo. At the end of the day, it's about getting the population that is often forgotten or invisible to many engaged in physical activity and much more, wellness in general. This year's theme is inspiring wellness. So if you're out there and you're looking for an opportunity to, one, get your name out there as far as being engaged and involved with the older population, 2, bringing people into your facilities or your practices, and 3, looking for a way to connect with your local community all around a national and international event, Active Aging Week is perfect for you. And all you have to do is just go to activeagingweek.com, register yourself as a host site. There's a wide variety of downloadable free tools that you can use. There's no cost to this. And it's just a matter of taking up the mantle and getting out there and doing it.
That's amazing. Such a great opportunity. And it creates a little buzz. It now, for those of you listening, I know from having worked in marketing and sales in the fitness industry, one of the things we're so much still most reluctant to do is ask for a sale or to promote ourselves. And if you're looking for an excuse to reach out, have more conversations with people and let them know you're out there offering this is an excellent opportunity. You've now got an excuse. You now have your social media content and posts figured out for you if you'll do this. And you're going to make some allies, and you can tap into relationships in your own community as well to talk with doctors, talk with other allied health professionals who would want to do this with you, furthering your credentials. I love it. Inspiring wellness, fabulous. Colin, could you just, for listeners, talk about some of the unique and innovative things that some of the host facilities or host sites have done in the past? Can you recall some that stand out?
Oh yeah, I mean there's so many. It really is quite amazing. We have. I'll give you an example. We have the Kirby Center that did what they call the Maple Leaf Quest, and that they used that to launch actually a year-long initiative that they were doing where they challenged people to walk across Canada. And at the end of the year, actually, they had a big celebration around it, and they celebrated the accomplishments. They started it at Active Aging Week, and they also concluded it at Active Aging Week as well. We also have, folks that, I'll give you another example. We have the Montgomery County that has 91 activities happening all across the county with about 13 partners. And they range everything from health fairs to walks to theater showings to, you name it. 24-hour fitnesses hosting 1,100 classes throughout the week, throughout all of their fitness clubs. So it can range from but it can range from a fitness class, and they may be partnering with groups like Silver Sneakers or what have you in their 300 plus locations, to citywide initiatives that are happening in the parks, to prize giveaways, to a 400-meter challenge. And one of the reasons why the 400-meter challenge is so crucial is that that's where science shows if you can't do 400 meters, you are on a downward path that you need to stop and stop quickly. But we see a lot of health fairs, a lot of giveaways, a lot of, travel. We see balloon rides, plane rides. We see camping. We see, paint and wine night where, you may get the people together to paint and drink at the same time. Not sure if that's a good combination.
Right. Okay. I'm not going there.
But they go on and on, showcase, talent, sketches, sculpting, watercolor paints, acrylic paints, all of those kinds of things. And really, at the end of the day, it's all about how creative you can be, because we provide you the theme and we provide you with a wide variety of examples from the past. But what we've found is that the people putting on the events are so creative, you don't want to get in their way.
That's so great. And I love some of the ideas that you gave. In fact, the paint and wine, I'm not sure that's something I would have thought of. However, I would think for anyone listening, you want to be brainstorming in such a way that it might help you tap into an audience that you otherwise might not have access to. This could be an amazing opportunity to expose yourself to different people and them to you.
Well, the other thing that we've seen, Deborah, with all of this is that people also connect with many other partners in the community. So it's also another way to bring you together with others that, hopefully that initiative with them will last much longer than the week itself.
Totally agree. It's such a great point. So business networking within the community, probing deeper to a level of client or customer who might not know about you yet or be comfortable coming in unless you provide something new and unique that draws them. Okay, toughest question of the day, Colin. Is there a question I should have asked you?
Oh, that's a good question. And I think, the question that I'll answer that two ways. The question I used to get is, but it's all about the millennials. And the reality is it's all about everyone. It's not just about one segment of the population. It's about creating a lifelong strategy, a life course strategy for health and wellness for every single population. Now, the older population over the years has been called a special population. And I'm going to leave you with a couple reasons why they are special. And, and maybe this is a question that, we didn't talk about. And that is there really a financial opportunity here for everyone on this call? So think about it this way. 1 out of 2 people in the US that are adults are over the age of 50. That's 50% of your potential clients that are adults. They account for 50% of the consumer spending versus 12.7% by those under the age of 35. They spend 400 million, or no, here I am saying million. Why would you say million? $400 billion more than any other age cohort. And they have increased their disposable income from 50% in the last 20 years to 70% of the nation's disposable income. So if you are looking for a population that is focused on their health and well-being as you begin to become when you have all these aches and pains and chronic health issues, just remember, they're not a special population. They are one of the populations, but it's all about everybody.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. Okay, I'm getting that in the notes. You're going to want to come back to that when you are talking to your boss or you're thinking about where to budget for your upcoming year if you have not already. Thanks, Colin, so much for that kind of last statistics to really sew this all in. The inspiring piece of it, the desire to really do some good for, I might add, people who really appreciate it. I think working with the population of over 50s, there is a sense of urgency for them. They get it and they really, truly appreciate it. So it is very rewarding in many ways, not just in an economic way or source of revenue for you, but also emotionally, which I know so many of you listeners, that's why you got into doing what you're doing. Colin, thanks so much for your time. And hello to Julie.
I will make sure that she knows you say hello.
Thank you. And fitness pros, if you have a question that we didn't ask, I didn't ask it, leave it below the show link at fitnessmarketingmastery.com/podcast. And I would appreciate it if you would leave a rating in iTunes if this has been valuable. Check out the blog and other podcast episodes at fitnessmarketingmastery.com. And I hope to see you at an International Council on Active Aging event.